Nicolas Cage, 50 Cent, and Justin Bieber are no longer allowed to purchase a brand new Ferrari. They are all on a blacklist of people that Ferrari no longer sells to. The trio are a few that have been banned because they didn't follow Ferrari's ownership rules. 50 Cent, for example, went on social media bashing Ferrari because of one simple issue. The battery in his brand new 488 had died. Ferrari despises owners that don't respect their wishes, as according to them, owning a Ferrari is representing the brand. Homemade modifications are generally frowned upon, and don't even think about reselling it within the first year of ownership. That's why Floyd Mayweather was banned. He changes his cars just as much as he changes his underwear. All this might sound insane, but it is part of the reason why Ferrari outperforms nearly all other car manufacturers. While the car industry was under extreme pressure from the recent semiconductor shortage, pandemic, and climate change concerns, Ferrari still managed to increase in value. But how did they do it? It's all because of a brilliant business approach that Ferrari seems to have mastered. It begins in a small town in northern Italy. Whenever Ferrari wins a Formula One race, the local pastor rings the church bells in Maranello, the home of the Ferrari brand. In 2019, the bells were rung only 3 times. But the 2 years following, it remained completely silent. Those were not the most prestigious years for the Ferrari racing team. But even so, Ferrari's valuation was unaffected. Subpar racing nor the global crisis seemed to have an effect on Ferrari. Ferrari's value just kept rising, while other vehicle manufacturers struggled. Since October 2015, when Ferrari decided to go public, the company's value has increased a staggering 350%. This is partly due to the fact that they know how to sell vehicles, expensive vehicles. A 2018 study reported that Ferraris cost an average of $307,000. But their profit margins are even more profound. Per vehicle, Ferrari makes on average $76,000 in profit. No other manufacturer comes close to those numbers. The insane profit margin is already a clue that Ferrari is doing something different than other vehicle manufacturers. Ferrari does not think of itself as a vehicle manufacturer, but as a luxury brand. What difference does that make? A huge one, when you look at their value. An important indicator of their value is the price-earnings or PE ratio. It tells investors how much a company is worth and if it is overvalued or undervalued. It's a simple calculation: share price divided by earnings per share. To see this formula in action, here is an example. Towards the end of 2021, Ferrari had a PE ratio of about 50. That means that if earnings stayed constant, it would take 50 years to recoup the share price. 50 years is a very long time, so a PE ratio of 50 is a very high value. Especially for a vehicle manufacturer. Just look at the PE ratios of other car brands. Compared to those, the Ferrari stock seems to be overvalued. Investors are either assuming a glorious future with much higher earnings, or they see Ferrari as a low-risk investment, even in times of crisis. And this is where it gets interesting. Because typically, vehicle manufacturers struggle in those times. This was the moment the World Health Organization announced that we were living in a pandemic. July 2021 was the warmest month ever recorded. But while the World Climate Conference was held and CO2 emissions were restricted, the production of gas-powered vehicles was in full swing at the Ferrari factory. And while a lack of semiconductors towards the end of 2021 caused other manufacturers to struggle, Ferrari reported a 90% increase in sales. Ferrari seemed unaffected by the world situation and was a safe bank during the pandemic. It's obvious. They are an incredibly prestigious brand. Because you can't just buy a Ferrari, there is a waiting list. And the cost of labor and materials don't matter. Ferrari can simply pass on the increased costs to the customers. Just as other luxury brands like Hermes or Rolex do. Ferrari has staked its claim as a luxury goods manufacturer, and that also explains their insane value. Look at the PE ratio of other luxury brands. Ferrari is definitely eating at the table with them, while other vehicle manufacturers are eating in the guest house. But how did they get to where they are today? If you want to create a luxury brand, simply selling expensive products is not enough. You need reputation, exclusivity, and tradition. Rolex, for example, is proud of its achievements like sponsoring the first woman to swim the English Channel, and has a strong connection to tennis and golf. Ferrari is the most successful racing team in Formula One, and also the only car brand that's been in F1 since the beginning. From the start, Enzo Ferrari and all of the cars after him stood for racing. Competing in F1 wasn't so much about selling more cars. It was more about fundraising. Ferrari established the idea that they are selling cars to finance their Formula One team. So practically everyone who bought a Ferrari became part of the Ferrari team and supported the vision of making sports cars even better. This creates a loyal community and exclusivity. A large part of Ferrari's business is actually not selling cars, but merchandise. Wearing a Ferrari hat or shirt makes you feel like you are a part of an exceptionally exclusive and successful community. Even if you don't own a Ferrari, this feeling of exclusivity is also ensured by limiting the number of vehicles sold, and the unique way they are distributed. For example, there was a limited number of the Ferrari Daytona SP3 produced. 599 to be exact. Even before the car was officially presented, all cars had already been sold, for around $2.2 million each. But it's not first come, first served. Buyers have to qualify for the car. There's even a saying, "You don't choose Ferrari. Ferrari chooses you." To buy such an exclusive model like the Daytona, you should have earned one. Having several Ferraris already in your garage helps, as long as you have shown that you treat the cars well. Only purchase from Ferrari dealerships. Show up at Ferrari events. Basically love the Ferrari brand and never show up with a Lamborghini. Speaking of Lamborghini, apparently, Ferruccio Lamborghini owned a Ferrari but didn't like the clutch, so he decided to go to Enzo and suggest how he could improve the car. Enzo told him to go away and stick to the tractors. Lamborghini was so pissed he started his own company. A brilliant example of Ferrari's arrogance, or as some would say, confidence. It's also reflected in their sales agreements. They include a minimum holding period of 1 year, because Ferrari does not want the cars to become objects of speculation, but only serve the most loyal customers. You can compare it to other goods with more demand than supply. Just look at concert tickets for famous musicians. Tickets are often completely sold out after 5 minutes, and after 6 minutes you can buy the same tickets for twice the price on second-hand websites. That's neither good for the artists nor the fans. The same thing would happen with Ferraris. In this sense, Ferrari's rules can be compared to personalized tickets. Only those who buy the product should use or own it. Owning a Ferrari seems to be like having a guaranteed long-term investment. Of course, you can also drive your investment, or take it to your local track and have a good time. Being a public company can be tricky, especially when your success depends on exclusivity. Rolex, for example, is still not public but owned by a foundation. Public companies need to make their shareholders happy. That means they always need to grow and ideally sell more. But the more cars you produce, the harder it gets to stay exclusive. On the other hand, since the church bells in Maranello have started ringing more often, Ferrari doesn't have to worry about their future. In fact, the small town can probably upgrade to gold-plated bells. So what do you think? Will Ferrari continue to dominate the car world, or will another car manufacturer take the reins as king? Let us know down in the comment section below, and please consider hitting the like button and subscribing to our channel. Thanks for watching.